So today we're discussing another research project from the Migration Institute of Finland. Endings, Refugee, Time and Space is a research and art project that explores what it means for forced displacement to end. So Camilla, thank you for being here today. Could you describe this project in your own words and where are the main aims?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Katrina, for having me, and greetings from all the project to you and to all listeners and watchers. So yes, I'm working as project researcher in exactly this project that you mentioned, Endings, Refuge, Time and Space. It is a project funded by the Kone Foundation. It started in 2023 and it's planned to end towards the end of next year or early 27. And the main aim is to explore openly whether refugeehood for different people in different way may ever end. Mm-hmm. Why? Mm-hmm. It's an important question because an effort on many sides in terms of law, many organizations, many actors who are involved in this, many people who become refugees and navigate the fact of becoming refugees or having been refugees or being refugees. There is an aim of ending refugeehood at a global level, like no more people who are forced to move and forced to navigate these difficult and inhumane journeys and systems. But then the question is, does it really ever end? For whom? Who decides? Who defines what an ending is? So we were interested in understanding, in hearing, especially those who navigated the fact of becoming refugees, but also from other sides, like, does it ever end?
Right.
So the main aims, the main ways, let's say, through which we address this question, whether refugeehood ever ends, is by doing 4 case studies, or like we have 4 inspiration foci. Like we focus on different sources of inspiration. So one is exploring through art and research each of these, whether refugeehood ever ends for the people who have become refugees at some point, who have been refugees, broadly understood. So the second is, does refugeehood, our endings in refugeehood in terms of legal status? And then the third is endings related to the closing down of refugee reception centers. And the fourth one is the endings in terms of ending of life and mourning in refuge.
Right.
And I'm here talking, but the project, of course, is a collective project. We are a group led by Evelina Lytinen, senior researcher here, and then there is my colleague researcher also, Erna Bostrom. And then there are our 2 colleagues, visual artist Rewan Kakir and poet Ahmed Zeidan. So each of us contributes to these different, or with respective focuses, like I work and also the artists work on the endings in refugeehood as experienced, lived experiences. Then my colleague Ahmed Zeidan and my colleague Erna Bostrom explore endings as legal status in legal terms.
Right.
Then all of us, I think, or at least me, Erna, Ahmed, and Rewan, we explore endings connected to closures of reception centers, often called camps, even if they're different from refugee camps all over the world, but they're often called camps by the people who live in them and inhabit those spaces. And then I think my colleague Ahmed Zeidan and Evelina Lytinen, the director of the project, they work on ending of life in refuge, especially.
Right.
So all of us contribute, the artists contribute to most of the themes, and we researchers to several themes also.
Right, that's very interesting. I would like to know like more in detail on like how it has been carried out, like interviews, stuff like that, on how you actually do it.
Yeah. So as I said, or maybe I should say that arts and research are equal in this project. It is an art and research project. This is important to say because, especially maybe in the past years, there has been a trend to also include more art in research, so often using creative or artistic methods as either research data or research methods, while here the question is a bit different, like these are important efforts, they're just different. In our project we have the art and research as means to explore these questions about endings in refuge. So for the art, my colleagues would be the best ones, of course, to answer about this, because I'm not an artist, I'm not competent in that. But they have used, for example, Ahmed Seitan has written poems, and Revan Kakil has used both photographs and artifacts, I don't know how to call them, but like work done by hand, artifacts, and installations to explore their themes. And on the research side, me, Evelina Lyhtinen and Edna Postrom, we have used mostly qualitative methods, definitely, and mostly like interviews, individual or focus group discussions. I have used also participatory observation. Then in some cases we have looked into some documents, and to a lesser extent to some media products like articles or so.
Thank you. The idea, or maybe the theme of ending or something ending is very interesting. Can you elaborate on what it means, maybe in general, but definitely in the context of this study?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So let me think a moment. So we had, all of us in the project, we had some, of course, knowledge of these themes, and we had our own ideas, assumptions. Some of us also lived experiences, even our own or of people close to us or in our circles, of what endings might mean from different points of view, in different terms, the emotional, the legal, and so on. But we were very careful in approaching this question openly. So we had our ideas. We knew, for example, that from the point of view of certain laws, it's either for some achieving the citizenship of the country where a person has sought asylum, so the legal citizenship, formal citizenship, or it might be, for example, in my own research, I've seen that people might not be citizens but live citizenship in other ways, feel like citizens or claim this membership in society or in any form of community, not only the national one. And they may have several forms of belonging in several communities and spaces across the globe also at the same time. But it means different things to different people through the law. Also, for example, my colleague Edna Postrom especially has looked into cessation and revocation, which are separate legal mechanisms which are used to terminate the status of being refugees. So there are many dimensions to it, and we are currently collecting data with Edna Postrom about what endings for whom occur when a reception center is closed down, for example. And I myself, and also Evelina Lyhtinen, is now collecting data about endings at the ending of life in refuge. I myself have collected data last year about endings as lived experiences, and I've seen that there are quite diverse ideas. Maybe one very interesting point that emerged from many people I've talked to is that, well, for some, they also have this global, not only individual view, that refugeehood will not end until war, violence, but also, we can say also environmental disasters and so are ending. So the sources of what pushes people to move, those who can move. And the people I interviewed, many of them said it may legally end for those who manage to get either the refugee status or a permit to stay in Finland or elsewhere. But many said, but still society will always see me as a refugee or a foreigner. And there will always be this kind of gate at which I'm headed. Yeah, and so, this was quite a common experience among many people I've talked to. And also, one thing that I forgot to say but is important is that we look at endings as lived through emotions, materialities. How do they materialize? Are there material spaces, physical spaces, or things that are related to processes of endings? We look at that through the legal aspect and also relations. So, for example, people were like, yes, legally, I'm no longer a refugee. But the way I'm treated by many people or majority people, or the people I encounter in my everyday life, or institutions. It reminds me constantly that, for example, this was not the answer of all participants, but it was quite common.
Right. Well, maybe more on this theme, I would like to kind of hear from you kind of experiences you have encountered with people who have, who feel that their displacement has ended. Do you have any maybe stories or something that you can share about this?
Many lived experiences in general of everybody, and then of the people I've encountered and talked to are moving between different feelings, or apparently contrasting feelings can coexist and in the same time and space. So, for example, one thing is also important to remember: we approach refugeehood as broadly understood, so not only as being someone who has received the official legal refugee status. We let people also define it, and some people also refused this term, and we were aware that this could happen. We used it more as an orientative category because we know people recognize it, and we wanted to bring people's voices to the fore about how does this word sound to you, what does it mean to you, say whatever you want to tell about this. And people, a refugeehood as forced displacement, as you were saying, the fact of being forced to move and leave home especially. So this search for home is a theme which often appeared, and people become refugees either in their own home country, or they were born to families who were displaced. And then they cross borders, also national borders, and they may live for years also. And have journeys which are stops and goes, and they don't know, do they go ahead, can they go ahead, where do they want to go, where do they end up. So also crossing international border and state borders. Borders are a very important part of it, and how borders are created and reproduced in everyday life or by institution or over longer spans of time. So the process of bordering as a verb is something that comes through. And then people realize how, the fact of missing and trying to create a home is a key theme, especially, for example, in my interviews, in the focus group discussion and observation I've carried out. And these, they can coexist also. Having found a home and missing the home that can no longer be, or that most people cannot return to for many reasons, is a key theme. And then the border which emerges internally to even being within state borders, the state borders, for example, of Finland, but the social borders, the borders enacted through racism, through micro or macro practices of individuals or institutions, for example. They were quite visible in the stories of the people I've encountered.
Right, the social borders are very interesting to think about, but I would like to know on what you think on how do administrative things such as asylum decisions can affect on whether displacement has ended or is still ongoing.
For many, if not maybe all, the people I've talked to, the legal aspect has been very, very important, because it was a dimension in which someone else could decide about where they had the right to be, and waiting for decisions, whether asylum decisions and or other permits, whatever would allow them to stay here and to stay in a place which is relatively safe or safer than the place they had to escape from, was something where others, institutions like the immigration office or immigration service, the police, and so on, retained major power. Of course, these people have their agency. Of course, they resist. Of course, they may refuse and or resist, engage in different ways. They live those processes. They know them very well. They have different experiences and also common experiences with each other. But it was very important. Several of my informants had an interesting way of saying it goes a step by step, or even it goes in percentages. An important step, an important percentage is getting a permit or the refugee status, so that you know that now you can stay. You no longer have to fear being deported which is extremely heavy, oppressive, consuming of energies. And first of all, of the people who live that condition, but also of the whole immigration control apparatus who is threatening or trying to remove people. People who have, for a certain time, the right to work, and people who have certain energy and also may have serious mental and health issues and so on. So there is also this question of time and energies that get channeled and get wasted running through some of our research parts. So yeah, the legal question was very important, essential for many. And at the same time, or for some people later, especially this social question. Some people told me that I noticed it later, the racism, the othering, the difference in against me in everyday life also, because I was so focused on trying to stay here, trying to secure my life here. And also, like, now I've interviewed mostly individuals or in groups, everyone speaking mostly of their own experiences, but we have to remember people are connected to each other. People have families, friends, networks, even the encounter with the researcher. I don't mean it has to be a friendship necessarily, but it is a way of inhabiting certain spaces, relations. These things have to be paid attention to by researchers, people in their everyday life, institutions.
Right, definitely.
These relations are both local and transnational and global.
This is an incredibly important project, and it includes themes that many people who know nothing about this have never thought about this. I feel like this is just in general so important and brings the voices of people who may not always be heard. So I'm wondering what you hope that this project will bring to, like, possibly to public discussions about refugee and displacement.
Thanks. You said something really important in the beginning of this question. Could you repeat? It was about, before you said the voices of people who may not be heard. It was really interesting.
Yeah, like, I feel like people who have no experience in being a refugee or maybe know nothing about you don't think about the fact on whether it's sometimes it ends or sometimes it keeps going. So I think it's just an interesting topic that and very specific in a way, but also not because it affects every refugee in a way. So yeah, this can be very, like, potential to public discussions maybe. I hope, what do you think on, or what you hope it brings to those conversations?
Yeah, I think you've said something very important when you said that there is a lack of knowledge. In a way, yes. At the same time, as a person who has followed these questions for many years before through my PhD, and then being part of communities through friendships and through volunteering, I recognize that some information may be in a bubble, but also there have been so many attempts by so many people in many positions to bring these voices to the fore, these stories. So in a way there is always work to do, and it's true some people are silenced, especially these people who navigate this process in the first person, so their voices need to be heard. And at the same time, I think our society needs to recognize that those efforts which have been done and those voices are somewhere to be heard. So that was a really important point, I think, that you raised.